はい、時間になりましたので、今から、国
Ladies
際
and
芸術祭
gentlemen,
愛知
thank you very much for
2025
your
のシンポジウ
patience.
ムを始めたいと思います。
Good afternoon,
テ
everyone.
ーマは
Thank
で
you
す
for
ね、
coming
国
to the
際芸術祭が地
International
域にもた
Art
らすも
Festival
の、
Aichi
あるいはその逆についてという
Symposium
テーマ
today.
でこれから、お話をしていきたいと思い
And
ます
this
が、
time, under the theme
皆
of
さん
what
本当に
International Art
い
Festival
きなり
bring
着
to
席
the
してしゃべ
region
ってます
and
けども、
vice versa.
お忙しい中、このシンポジウムにお集まりいただきあ
In
り
your
がとうご
tight
ざいます。
schedule,
私は
first of all, I would like to say
愛知
thank
県
you
美
very
術館
much
の
for
館長を
coming
しています
here.
が、
I
今回
am
ファ
the
シリテーターを
director
務めさ
of
せていた
this
だいてます
museum,
正彦と言います。
Masahiko Haito. Nice to meet you.
ありがとうございます。愛知トリエンナーレ2025という、タイトルの国際芸術祭愛知2025ですが、
The Aichi 2025 International Festival has a history.
今日、お話しいただくフール・アルカシミを
And
芸術
then
監督
the
として
last year, the
紹介してですね、
July, we announced the director,
10月に
the
ですね、
Ms. Qasimi,
会場地が
and in
名古屋
October,
市と瀬戸市であることを
we
ですね、
decided the
発表しました。
venue and they released
つい
the
先日
venue
2
on
月
this
1日なん
Aichi
ですけど
Museum
も、
Center and Seto City.
テーマコンセプトおよ
And
び
just
えーと
a few
チーム
days
編成ですね、どう
before,
やってこう企画す
we
るかという
released
とこ
the
ろをですね、
structure of the
企
team
画
as
編
well
成に
as
つ
the
いて
theme
ご
on the
紹介させていただ
concept.
いたということがありました。で、今回はその、テーマコンセプト発表、チーム発表に合わせて
And
で
this
すね、
time,
シン
in
ポジウムを
accordance
開
with
催す
the
ると
theme
いう
on
こ
the
とに
concept,
なりました。
today we have the symposium
今回はです
discussion.
ね、今日はですね、
And today,
前回の国際芸術愛知2022のですね、芸術監督
we
の、
invite
お願い
the previous director, the
片
Miss
岡真美さんに
Kataoka,
ですね、ご登場いた
who
だ
were
い
in
て、
charge of the
後ほどお
previous
話を
this
私の
art
後ですけども、お
festival.
話を伺うという
And
ふうに考えて
after
おり
my
ます。
talk,
お手元の資
I
料にありま
will
すけども、
invite Miss
最初に
Kataoka
私が
to
少し
talk
話をして、
about what we
その
did
後
in the
片岡さん
past.
が、
First of all,
このテーマについ
I
て
will
話す。
talk
そして
first, and then after
フール・アルカ
that,
シミさん
the
の
Miss
方で
Kataoka give the
経験値、
presentation,
シャルタの経験も含めて
and
話をす
after
るという
that, we will
ことを
invite
お話ししたいと思います。
the
そしてですね、
director
今
Qasimi,
回はこの記者会見に合わせて
and
です
she
ね、
is talking
ア
about
ルゼン
her
チンの
achievement.
方からですね、
And also, we
ア
invite
ドリアン
invited to the
という
Adrián
素晴らしいアーティストをですね、
Rojas. He is a very remarkable artist. He is kindly came to Japan, and today he will give us the talk about the concept and what we are going to do in this international festival.
武雄さんをですね、今日登壇するということになっておりましたが、所要につきですね、今日はちょっと登壇できない
Mr. Obayashi decided to come here, but unfortunately, because his tight schedule, unfortunately, he didn't come here
そし
today.
てですね、最初に、私の方からですね、
First of all,
私今愛知県美術館の館長をしてますが、
I am a director
2010
of this
2013
museum,
2016というですね、
and then
ま
I
だ
have
ト
the
リエンナーレが始まった頃にですね、
in
トリエンナーレ
charge
に関わっ
of
て
the previous,
芸術祭を
the
立ち上げる
three
ところからですね、
on the international festival, and from the start of the international festival, I was involved in this
子供だっ
event.
た時代っていう感じが実は
Looking back, this festival is just a baby,
スライドを見ながらですね、
and
当時私が考えていたことっていう
with
ことも
this
含め
the
て
slides,
ご紹介する
I
のが
want
で
to
すね、
talk about what we
今回
have
の
done,
前座といいますか、
and
さ
then
せていただいて、この後、片岡
after
さん
that,
そしてフール・アルカシミ、そして
the floor is going to the Miss
話をする。そして
Kataoka and
休憩を挟ん
Director
でです
Qasimi,
ね、
and after that, we have a break,
4人でディスカッションをするような時
and
間を
then we have the
というふうに
discussion
思ってますので、
with four
皆さんよろしくお願い
members.
したいと思います。はい、ではちょっと私の方から簡単に
So first of
トリエンナー
all,
レの本当に若い頃の子供の
let me
時代の
start.
スライドをですね見せていきたいなというふうに思います
I
の
want
で。
to start with the very start of this international festival.
じゃあですね、早口でいきますね。あれ動かない。私の経歴はこんな感じで。
This is my the career. I was in the museum of the Aichi Prefectural, and then I moved to this section, and I was involved in this event as a curator.
逆ですね。はい。愛知トリエンナーレはですね、
The Aichi Triennale started in 2010. and started in Nagoya City. And we invited 131 artists and performers. Today, when I talk about the theme, I remembered what we have done. And in the past, we have borrowed a lot of ideas and places and collaborated with a lot of artists. And this is the picture of 2009. So what we wanted to do is to make this festival visible. So this is on the street and the night. We continued a lot of gatherings, and so that everyone could understand this kind of event happened. And artists also joined. Every night, we did kind of this event and introduced artists as not the unusual person. They are just artists. And they collaborated with the local people. We took part in the festival. At the same time, we took part in the local festival in Chojamachi. And what we tried to do was expand the human network and the human connections. And then we set the artist masterpiece in the streets in the local places. And the local people kindly share their place with us. This is from the article in the newspaper. This is a white horse. This one fell apart. This was an accident. And then the workers in the company also took part in the this kind of the festival, and they were joined to the local festival. So they moved the float. Everyone got together and moved in the streets. And the young entrepreneurs and the joined. And always what we did was they're creating human networking where everyone got together and create the festival. This is the picture. This is on the wall on the right side. This is the sculpture of the exhibition. But on the street, we found the color of black as not happy, so we talked a lot. And then one idea came up. The black color turned to yellow. So our theme was make things visible. And we invited a lot of artists in Triennale. And this is from Araujo. He is an artist. He loved the kendo, Japanese martial art. And he looked for the dojo in the place. And he took part in the martial arts in the kendo, Japanese fencing. So the artist has their hobbies and they took part in the local community. And this is Ryoji Ikeda's the masterpiece. And this is the whole of the Nagoya, the castles, the Ninomaru. He is the Bulgarian artist, Kamen Stoyanov. He cooked the local cuisine, the Bulgarian food. And this is a picture of night. And in the night, we try to show the art festival and make it visible to everyone with light and illumination. This is the roof of the company who are in charge of the light and illumination. This is a picture of Chojamachi textile town, and this is the basement. Now, a lot of the small shops are closed, but currently some of the shops have the operation.
This is a Turkish artist, and this is his display. Then this is a major park, and there are performance like this. And also they participate in the Abyss local festival. And this is a collaboration with the Nagoya Art University, and they also collaborate with the students. And Oasis 21, this is a nearby place, and they didn't actually rent the space, but we wanted to display our object, so they were not so friendly at first. But we explained it. Then finally, we were able to lease the space for Mizuku-sama, and this was a very popular event. And also, making things visible is very important, so actually show the practices of artists. So this is the building, and on the top of the building, this is Yusuke Asai. It's a bit dangerous, but this is the way how he practiced. So it was very good place for us to show how artist is engaging practicing the art. And this is another artist, and he was also playing on the wall. So it was a cafe like this, and this is in the street, so it is destroyed now and it's gone. So that the repetition of coming and going, and the mobile triennale. And we use a lot of local places to show our objects, and we use all the buildings and reflect the history of the old buildings, and we perform parade. And Mangrove Griffiths, and then he is a foreign artist, but living in Nagoya. So he's from Trinidad Tobago, and he used the motif of the local artist, local festival. And we use illumination to show the parade and performances, and also we got support from the local companies, and we rent cars, and we made a design to make our event visible. And also we use a TV tower station as well, and local people. This was back in 2010, and so they put up signs like this to show our practices. And this is Georgia Machi Street, and it's already gone. And they are engaged in poem reading, and people are also participating in the art events, and they also celebrate the festival together. This is in front of the Nagoya station, and this is a famous Nana-chan doll, big doll, and we use Nana-chan doll, and Midori Mitamura. She used to study fashion, so we asked her to dress Nana, this big doll, to have her wear the costume. And this is Georgia Machi Street again. And there's a Bank of Japan building in Georgia Machi Street. So we try to project the image on the building, and we collaborate with the local people, and we ask the permission and the Bank of Japan. So it was a very good building for us to project the images like this. So this is actually the first attempt for the Bank of Japan, and we were able to get approval from the Bank of Japan. And this is Okazaki 2016, and this is at the temple, and we show the film there. And on that occasion, this is a temple, so there are some religious events going on. Therefore, there's always a possibility that event will be cancelled, because for them, religious events are more important. But somehow there was no cancellation. And this is a local biscuit package. and also local sweets, Sennari, and we collaborated with Sennari to make our event visible. And Oasis, there was a carnival, and flamenco and samba and the Japanese dances are combined together in order to create a positive noise. And well, art festival, art event, it is very difficult to deliver the messages. So I need a collaboration from my family members. So I got the collaboration from my children, and I took them to the Chojamachi street, and they are my children, and they started playing like this. They are my children, and we get the support from my children's families. And this is a Chojamatsu street, and well, actually you are able to see my children participating in the parade, and well, that's the very important part of my participation. So since 2010, I've been involved, and what I thought is important is to get help. And of course, we need artists, but then also local people and organizations and children to grown-ups. Anyway, we need the support of the people, and we need spaces, and then the art festival can start. So that is my personal experiences. And at the early stage of the art festival, it's very important to make a soft landing. And what is important? Well, I mean, contemporary art is very difficult to understand for some people, but I would like to erase such misconception. And then, in order to do that, we need the support of many people, including my family members, so that we are able to make the art closer to those people, and that's what I've been doing for the last 9 years. So still, it's very important for us to involve as many perspectives as possible. So perspective of curators and perspective of industry, perspective of administrators. I think there are many people need to be involved in this kind of event. But anyway, we need the support of all stakeholders. Otherwise, we are not able to grow the art festival. That is my very important learning. So I would like to get your support in the future, and I would like to make this event successful and bigger into the future. So from your own perspective, I think you need to support us. And then we are able to get together communities and the festival, and we can get feedback from the community, and we can grow. So we need to communicate with the community, and we need to borrow, and we need to borrow the spaces, and we make the streets busier and make festival. So that is what I learned in my experiences. Then Chojamachi Street, there are some performances and displays. And in the art festival, after the festival, they are removed and only pictures will remain. But in Aichi Prefectural Museum, and you are well, on your right-hand side, you are able to see the displays at the Chojamachi Street on your right-hand side. And Aichi Prefectural Museum, we reproduce those displays. So this is part of our archives and collections to remember what we have done. So those are the assets of the local community, and that should contribute to the development of the museum as well. So art festival need to grow as the asset of this part of Japan, and it has to grow into the future, and that is my expectation. I'm sorry I spoke so long, and there were some old pictures and photos, but those are the basic ideas that I have for the art festival, Triennale. So I was involved in the very early stage of the festival. Now, I would like to give microphone to Ms. Mami Kataoka to talk about her involvement with the Triennale Aichi. Thank you.
Hello everyone, nice to meet you again. I'm Kataoka. In 2022 October, I was in charge of this festival and I finished my work, but again I have come here. I'm very happy to see you all. And this time, we welcome the other remarkable director, and I'm looking forward to this festival. Today I want to talk about what the International Art Festival can bring to the region and vice versa. So I want to proceed my presentation with slides. We have the International Festival, Art Festival, and why we have this kind of the art festival. One of the reasons is that we have a lot of global issues, and through the art, how we can inspire the people to think about this kind of issue. And that's one of the purpose of International Art Festival. This is from the website of the United Nations, and it's the issues: poverty, climate change. We have a lot of issues and challenges. And to these issues, the artist has paid attention to these issues. We have the refugee issues and wars and conflict, the water problem, and refugee issues. To deal with issues, a lot of the Biennale, Triennale that deal with issues around the globe. This is a map from the organization. Globe is round on the you can see the spots on the planet. There are about 300. This is the directory of A. This is only A, but there are a lot of the biennales. So Aichi, the festival, is one of that biennale or triennale. This is the global map I made. For the last 30 years, we have seen the promotion of globalization. This is not this doesn't mean the art is not only the Western countries. Around the world, we have seen a lot of the art festivals, and then from each region, the message has conveyed and sent. And next is who are stakeholders. And when we think about who are the stakeholders, not only the biennales and triennales, there are museums. Basically, this is a collaboration: museum, biennale, triennale, and art fairs. This is the triangle function. Around the globe, this function is spread in different places in the world. The museum has a long history, and the biennale started in the 1895. Back then, it was the expo style that each country has its building, and they showed its artists. And then in China, and they invited different their artists. And this is a map of Asia and International Fair and Art Fair and Contemporary Museum. On the right side, on the right, as the Contemporary Museum, and orange as International Festival, and green is Art Fair. In Japan, we have the long history of the museum, the Tokyo National Museum. It started after the World War II. This is a private section in the Artisan Museum. It started its operation the same year. And in 1931, the O'Hara Museum started. We have a long history of the museum. Before the 1990s, I added the year of foundation. Many the museums in Asia started its operation in the 1990s. And the international the festival in 1995, the Triennale was started in China. In Tokyo, we had the Triennale, but unfortunately, they stopped its operation. And in China, the Triennale has a long history, and next year they will have the 30th anniversary. In the last 30 years, the environment surrounding the art has changed and increased. And Art Fair also, the number has been increased. And not only the museum, we also had the international festival and art fair. For example, South Korea, the free art fair started, and at the same time, they can enjoy the art triennale and the China's art fair because they invite some artists. In January, the art fair started, and then at the same time, the museum, have done the music fair collaboration, that kind of event. On the other hand, this is the slide is think about what the museum is. 2022 in August in Prague, there is an organization, and they decided the definition of a museum. This is a website from the ICOM. In Japan, the museum has the museum and that display and arts and sculptures and other things. And museum is a permanent non-profit institution for society that studies, collects, preserves, interprets, and exhibits tangible and intangible heritage. They don't sell and buy the masterpiece. And museums are open to the public, accessible to all, inclusive, and foster diversity and sustainability. This is a new definition, which is diversity, inclusive, sustainability. This is a new concept. And thirdly, communicating ethically and professionally, the museum works with community and offers a variety of experiences for education, enjoyment, reflection, and knowledge sharing. The museum has a very important role as to provide art, but at the same time, it has a social responsibility. In the Aichi Triennale, the museum and festival collaborate together that comply with this definition. And next is who are the visitors? This is a model of Japan. At the center, there is a museum and the international fair, and collaborate with the prefectures and locals. And then that spread to the other part of Japan. and spread to the other places in Asia and expand globally.
これは2022年23年に海外からの
And this is visitors from foreign countries, inbound tourists and visitors.
2022と23で全然違ってます。
And
手前が22、奥が23
the
で
dark green is 2022 and the light green is 2023.
240万人なので昨年はですね
Last year, we invited the 22 million foreigners. We had the inbound foreigners, and we had the weekend. So Japan is very accessible country for the foreign tourists. And this is the visitors by country. The 27% is from South Korea, and China is about 11%, Taiwan is 16%. And then now the COVID pandemic is completed, so we have more and more visitors from the Asian countries. And now we have the inbound tourists in Thailand, USA, and other parts of the country or region. And who will visit us? Our target would be the Asian countries. And then we should have the image. A lot of visitors coming from the Asian countries. The Aichi Triennale, they create the report every year. This is from the archive. The purple is the Aichi Prefecture, and orange is others, and green is from Nagoya. In 2019, Triennale was very famous across the nation, so we had a lot of visitors, not only from the Aichi or not from Nagoya. In 2022, we didn't have the inbound foreign tourists. And professionals came to Japan with visa, but the ordinary tourists didn't come to the Triennale. In 2016, the balance is almost the same from 2016 to 2022. Back then in 2016, we could say that we didn't have the inbound tourists, and that was beautifully equal. And then recently, during the pandemic, the local people didn't go to abroad, so they come to the Triennale. So who came to the Triennale and who didn't come to Triennale? We need more detailed analysis. So we have the 30% visitors from Nagoya, and the 1/3 is from Aichi. That means that most of the visitors from this region. So I think that our aim should expand to invite the visitors from the Asian countries. But at the same time, the local visitors is really, really important to this event. And this is the International Festival in 2022. The theme was still alive. That became very famous, and we had the pandemic. And back then, we had a lot of struggles and difficulties to hold this event. But at the same time, we had the opportunity. This is from the Kawara-on, a telegram that says, "I am still alive." I inspired the idea from this message, "Still alive." Back then, the message of "still alive" was very significant. In response to the message, we invited a lot of artists And I ask curators to look for the appropriate artists, and we invite them. Back then, we talked a lot about diversity and inclusion, because that concept was accepted globally. And at the same time, we wanted to rediscover the importance of the local industry and the locals. That means we again look to the locals and its industries.
Now look at this, and there are a lot of different industries and traditions, and industry and art, or tradition, craftsmanship and history, and car industry and the aviation industry, and state-of-art technologies are included in Aichi Prefecture, and the performing arts and the contemporary art are both contained in our festival, and also White Cube and street venues we both available, and Aichi and global, and how we consider those locality and global. So those are very good contrast for the art festival, and so we don't have to choose either of them. We can cover everything, and we need to contain all those components in our festival. And regarding the venues, Aichi Art Center is the main venue, and this is a place designed for art, and also street venues, Ichinomiya and Arimatsu and Tokoname. So there are 3 street venues, outside venues. Then we chose all those outside venues. So Still Alive is the main theme, and we have a loose connection and over sub-themes like this. And the art center is a symbolic space for the event. And Ichinomiya is a city of textile, so weaving industry, and they do have plants, so we use those facilities, and also formal nursing infrastructures are used. And also streets are also very beautiful local streets, and we pick up the theme like well-being and health and longevity. And Arimatsu area, it has a long history of Shibori dying of 450 years of years. And also Tokoname is a city of ceramic and rule of nature, and also ceramic is a big industry for them. So the combination of art and industry, and this is a sub-theme of Tokoname city. So those sub-themes are loosely connected. Then I would like to show you some practices. And Anne Nimhoff, this is back in 2016 skate rink, and it was closed at that time. So she used that skating rink, and gas pipe was still available, and then we used that for a skate rink. So we used the piers like this, we created the piers like this, and we are able to show big performances, and blue light was very effective. Then so there was a vibration, and we had a complaint from the neighboring place because the vibration was so strong. And this is Ichinomiya, and this is a community center. And this is the only design office made by Kenzo Tange. So this is the most faraway place from the station. And you went to remote places, but in some cases, some practices are very disappointing, and you might have that kind of experience in the contemporary art festival. So that was already in my mind. mind.
ものす
But
ごすぎて、
this
これはぜひ見てもらいたい
community
と思ったん
center
です
is so
ね。なの
impressive,
で、
so I really wanted the visitor to
レ
see
オノ
the
ル・アンテ
building.
ネスという
And
アーティ
Leonardo
ストを呼ん
Antenes is
で、
an
で
artist.
この場所に合
Then
う大ホールに合う
and
インスタレー
this
シ
is
ョン
the
を
big
決めたんですけど
hall,
も、
and the
彼
artist
女はバ
created
ーハウス
the
という総合芸術大学に
and
日
this
本人で初めて
object.
行った
And
山脇美智子さんという人が残
Michiko
した
Yamawaki
いくつか
is
の
her
テキスタイルのドローイングをもとにこの
motif.
陶器を作っ
And
て、
she created
で
the
この
ceramic
赤は
like
も
this.
ともとのその
And
タイプの
this
丹下
is
健
the
三が選んだ
original
赤
red
っていうタイプです
used
ね。
by
た
Kenzo
またまこの
Tange.
赤とものすごい合って
And
いて、
those
それ
two
から
colors
彼
are
女の
matching
この
really well.
彫
And
刻作品と
she put her
正面の
sculpture.
金屏
And
風
in the
みたいなも
front,
のもこれ
this
も
is
オ
a
リジナルの金
golden
屏風です。それから
stand.
照明
And
もオリジナ
also
ルのものですね。
illumination
まあ、
is the
千秋さん
original
が本社として
illumination.
機能していたこともあって、ほとんど
So,
改修をされておらず、
well,
1950年代
in
のモダニズムデ
1950s,
ザインのそのままが
it
残っ
was
てい
built
て、
and
で
still
まあ、レオノール・ア
original
ンテネス
design.
もモ
And
ダニ
this
ズムのデ
artist
ザインや建築の発
is
展の
good
中
at
で
the
女性が果た
modern
す役割というのを探
design,
求してい
and
る
she
人なの
pursued
で、まあ、その
after
意味
the
ではですね、
female design.
よくぞ
So
ここにこれを作ってくれました
she
って
was
いう
a
ような
very
ぴっ
good
たりな
fit
展示
for
になっ
this
て、
building.
まあ、これは
Then
いろんな方からも見
we
て
had
見に行ってい
a
ただ
very
いた
good
というふうに聞いてい
reputation
ます
about
が、
this
まあ、こういうことを
installation and
や
her
りたい
work.
なと思っていたの
And
で、
this is
まあ、実
something
際
that
出来
I
上がっ
always
て大変嬉
wanted
しく
to
思いま
do.
す。
So it was
それから
really
まあ
good
続きましてはもう
success.
一つ、
And
まあ、
this
塩
one
田千春さん大変有名
is
な人ですけれども、
Shiharu
彼女
Shiota.
のその糸を
And
使うと
she
いう
used
と
the
ころを
thread
一宮の繊維産
in
業とつなげ
Ichinomiya
て、
because
でしか
Ichinomiya
も
is
手織り
a
の町
city
ですか
of
ら、彼女が使うこの毛
textile.
糸をですね、
So she
一
used
宮
the
市で作っているこの赤色を、まあ、あえて
thread and
こ
it
の
is
作品に
dyed
染めて
in
もらっ
red.
て、それでもともとその毛織りの
And
古い
all
機械が
textile,
まあ使われてなか
they
ったんですけ
had
ど
the
も、その
old looms
金
still
属の
available
大きな
intact.
手すりした
So
重厚な機械がある
we
工
used
場
the
の
metal
跡地
machines.
のノコギ
Then
リにという場所を借りてまあでき
we
たこともやはりその
combined
プロ
those
ジェクト
threads
と違って場所に意味が
in
あ
the
ると
machines, and
作
this is
品だ
site
けで存
specific.
在していることに
So
加えて
uh,
場所の歴史や空間的
it
な意味
is
がそこに
matching
重な
with
る
the
ので
space and
なんか
atmosphere
そ
of
の
the
なんて言うんでしょう
plant and
意味が
history.
こう
So
増幅され
this
てあ
will
るいは
accelerate the
視覚
meaning
的
of
にも
the
体験
workpiece,
が
and
増幅されて
also
これはとても
visually this is
興味
very much
深い現象だ
effective.
なと自分
And
自身思い
I
ました
think this is a very
それ
impressive
から
work as
シュ
well.
ジャウェイは台
And
湾のアー
Xu
ティストで、
Jiawei is
ま
a
あ、ゲームの
Taiwanese
マインクラフ
artist,
トの手
and
法を使いなが
he
ら、
used the
展示は
Minecraft,
一宮市だったんですけれども、
and
常滑の歴史を、マインクラフトの中に物語を作って見せ
he
るというよ
included
う
the
なことで、
Tokoname's
ま
history
あ、
in
こ
the
れも
Minecraft,
VR などの最
and
新の、
he used the state
テ
of
ク
our
ノロジーを
technology
使い
of
な
a
が
VR
ら、
virtual
歴史を
reality,
こう、掘り
and
下
then
げる
talked
というよ
about
うなタ
the
イプの作品
history
でした。
and his critical view of the
それから常
history.
滑は
And
ですね、
Tokoname,
これはシアスターゲイツ、
this is
ま
a
あ
Siesta
リスニン
Gate,
グハウス
listening
という
house is a
タイトルで、まあ、5
title.
年ほど使われていなかっ
And
た住宅を
this
まあ
house
改
wasn't
装
used
しま
for
し
5
て、
years, and
で、
it was
まあ、ここ
renovated
本当に
like this.
畳敷きで、
And they used a
まあ、
tatami
使
mat.
われなくなったそのままだったんですけど、そこも改装
So
してコン
we
クリを流
renovated
し
it, and
床を
we
張
used
り、
the
で
concrete
上
on the
はまた
floor,
畳を敷いたり
and
し
we
て、
used the
で、
tatami mat here.
彼の、ま
Then
あ、知り合いだった人が持っていたコレクション、
though
レ
the
コードコレクシ
collection
ョンを持
belonging
って
to
き
his
て、
friends, and
で、
they are brought
まあ、
to
そこ
this
で
site.
DJ
Then
も入れて、
we
音
put
楽を流してい
DJ
る。で、まあ、こ
sounds
の
available, and
ネオンの作品はですね、こ
this
れ
is a
は
neon.
黒人の、まあまあ、公民権運動も含めて、
This
ま
is
あ、
a
ブラッ
black
クカルチャ
affirmative
ーが
action and black culture
まあ、黒
reflected,
人の人たちがどういう社会状況にあるの
and
かっていうの
what
を、
kind of
WEB デボアっていう社会学者
WDB
が
De Boer,
美しい
socialist,
グラフにした本があるんです
he
ね。
created a
で、そ
beautiful
の
graph.
社会状
So
況をグ
that
ラフにした
social
ものをそ
status
のまま
is
ネオンに
put in the graph,
変
and
えて
that
見
is
せた
also
作品
reflected
で、こ
in
れ
the
も
neon as a
なかなか
workpiece.
読み込んでい
So
くと、まあ、深
if
い読
you
みので
dig
きる
down very
作品
deeply,
だったんですけ
there's
ど
a
も、
lot
まあ、
of
こうした空間を作
interpretation.
り、
So he
これが
created this
2階
space,
ですね。
and this
で、
is the
これをちょっ
second
と
floor. And after this, there was a tatami mat here. And this is a minimalist art piece. Well, this still exists in Tokonami. Then Siesta Gates, I asked him to have a display in Mori Museum, and I wanted him to use this workpiece at the Mori Museum as well. So we are making preparation for that gallery event. And so festival ends, but some art pieces remain to be used by the local people and functions for local people. I think that is beautiful, and I'm very happy that this workpiece is going to be activated at the Mori Museum as well. And the Ducy Morales work and the Colombian local indigenous people pray for the motherland. And so she combined cinnamon and honey into the clay and created this workpiece, and she used the tokoname local clay. And what is a cookie for the Japanese people, and the white one is a rice mochi paste. And this making process, tokoname local people are involved to make this concrete sweet. Well, it's not really edible, but I asked them to create a real edible cookies, and they created a place to bake cookies in the local place in the nursery house. So how to connect local people with the art pieces, I think it's very important from my perspective. And this is something related to Seto venue. In Seto, I made a research, and on that occasion, I find out that the so-called novelty that supported the post-Japan economy, and it's like a porcelain doll, like a Meissen doll. Then they used to sell porcelain dolls, and that was done by Seto and Tokoname. But back in 1955 Plaza Agreement, that sent the Japanese in soaring. So that makes Japanese exporters very difficult to continue with their business. So they got inspiration from that reality, and he made this installation. So, so 5 finance ministers at the time of Plaza Agreement, and also economists in the back are shown here. So those are the 5 finance ministers at the time of Plaza Agreement. Then Arimatsu was like this, and we try not to destroy the historical street. And if you cross in by, and it's like this, and that's so-called the People's Wall, and people pass by. But when they pass by, this creates a welcoming atmosphere, people walking outside. So those are the examples of Arimatsu. Then this is my last slide. So you might come across the word Global South, and this is the map of Global South. And well, it doesn't mean the separation, but this means the gap of the economy. So red portion and the blue portion, they are divided by economy, level of economy. And Japan and Korea are not included in the red zone, and Australia is also in blue, and Global South. They started a communication with themselves, like a Siesta Gate. Afro culture is proposed, advocated, and Africa, they move from Africa, and those black population, how they are related to Japanese and Japanese people, and Afro-Asia, and African culture and Asian culture, how they are related. And also, I went to Singapore and saw Southeast Asia's history and Latin America's history. How are we able to compare them to each other? That kind of studies are deepening. So
中、あるいは
within
こ
the
の
global south or
欧米を中心とし
and
た
the Western
価値
world,
観ではないところで
well,
どういうふうに
outside the
世
Western
界を見る
values,
のかという
how
ような動き
world
も
are
見えてきてい
unfolding.
ます。なので、
We
愛
are
知
very
を
much
中心
interested.
にこの
So
愛知の
in
ことを
Aichi
愛知
here in
の
Japan,
観客のために掘り
and
下げながらも、
we dig
こ
the
こで行
local
われている
culture,
ことが
but
世
at the
界の
same
他の
time,
場所と
how
どう
our
いう
cultures
対話
are
ができるのであ
related
ろうかと
to
いう
the
ことを
outside and how
掘り
we
下
are
げてい
able
くこ
to
とが
deepen
これから
communication
の
with them.
国
I
際芸
think
術祭
it's
の
going
役割
to be
では
the
ない
very important
というふうに
meaning
思っ
of
てい
the
ます。とい
international
うことで以
festival.
上です。ありがとう
That's
ござい
all
ました。
from me. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Ms. Kataoka.
はい、では
Now,
少し、はい、次は国際芸術祭愛知2025の芸術監督、現芸術監督ですね。
So next we will invite the director, Ms. Qasimi. She will give us a presentation about her experience and achievements. And she also talked about the Salja Biennial. And also she has a lot of experience in working internationally. Please.
I'm going to briefly talk about the history of Sharjah Biennial. First of all, thank you, Haito-san, for inviting me to be here. I was a member of the public visiting Sharjah Biennial when I was 13 years old. So Sharjah Biennial started in '93, and it always took place in the old expo center. So like Mami-san mentioned, the idea of looking at a world fair, and it had country representation, looking at the model like Venice or Cairo. This was the old expo center. It used to host the book fair, the biennial, and other festivals, including jewelry, whatever. In 2002, in 1998, I went to study painting in London. So I wanted to become an artist because of my experience in Sharjah growing up with the biennial. Art was very important in my upbringing with different events that were happening. At the age of maybe 16, I used to teach drawing after school in an art center as a part-time job. So art was really flourishing in the area. I went to study painting in London and visited, after my graduation, I visited Documenta 11, curated by Okwi and Wazor. It was a turning point for me. It was the first time I visited a large international festival other than Sharjah Biennial. I'd never been to anything, no Venice or any other biennials around the world. And we all know how important Okwi and Wazor was for our generations. And like Mami-san was talking about the global south, he was very much pushing for artists to be shown in a global platform. So I started asking questions about the biennial, like how does the biennial happen? What is the process? What is the purpose? I was only supposed to have a gap year and go back to do my master's, but instead I got involved with the biennial and started asking a lot of questions. For me, it was very important to always put myself, until now, so I became director of the biennial in 2002. So I've been doing this job for over 20 years now. And still, I always put myself in the audience's shoes. As a member of the audience, as a child, what do I want to see? As an artist, what do I want to see? As a student, what do I want to see? So it's really important to keep listening to what everybody might experience in a biennial, because sometimes in the art world, you're in an echo chamber, you're in your own world, and you don't realize that the world is greater than the few of you. In 2000, this photo is actually from 2017. I didn't have a new one that was this aerial view, but it shows you the location. When I was working in this expo center, it wasn't this building. In 2002, they already built a new building for the expo center. For me, it was very commercial. It was a big hall. And I said to them, but this is the arts area. Why are we in a trade center? You'd have an exhibition and the next hall has a jewelry exhibition or a watch exhibition. I found it very depressing. And you have to go through turnstiles to enter, you know. It wasn't open into the street. But the arts, this is the heritage area. The arts area was just on the right there. Had the museum, the Fine Arts Society, artist studios, the creek. Like, it was a different life. So I suggested using the museum and the locality. So that was the first time we used both locations. And then by 2009, I decided I don't want to use the expo center anymore. I only wanted to do things in places that were more accessible and more interesting. So these buildings, we started planning in 2009 because we needed big white cube spaces, which we didn't have. And the first biennial that we did with these buildings was in 2013 for the 11th Sharjah Biennial that was curated by Yuko Hasegawa. So this is the arts area. This is the space that I mentioned where the artist studios take place. So you see, it's a different energy, it's a different vibe. Artists meet in the courtyard, they do a barbecue, they read poetry. So it really fits into the idea of what culture can do to a community and a society. You have an exhibition, but then the artists who work here are also part of the conversation. They're not separate. And this is where we work. My office is just over there. In the biennial curated by Yuko Hasegawa, she invited a Pichatpong, Versatakul, who was in the last Triennale curated by Mami-san. She was really interested in the floating cinema he created before with Ole Shireen, the architect. So I asked him to create a cinema space in Sharjah. This section was actually supposed to be phase 2 of our building project. And it was meant to be temporary, but because we loved using this open air cinema, we decided to keep it, and this is still our cinema now until today. We do our film festival there, we do concerts, and the access is from every location. So it's open to the public. People can come from any area, and it's free to the public, but what's nice is a lot of people also watch from their buildings, which is also really nice. This is a building that I've been trying to renovate for forever. And I'm still trying to get the funding. So part of the project, part of my way of working is looking at abandoned buildings or buildings that are in bad condition and trying to save them from demolition, because a lot of old architecture just gets demolished and rebuilt again. So I spoke to the owners of this cinema, and it took us maybe 4 or 5 years to negotiate a deal of exchanging a plot of land. So they would get a much better plot of land if they let us take this building. I'm still trying to renovate the cinema. I don't have the money yet, but artists started using it as research inspiration. We had Shazia Skandar use it in 2013. We had other artists use it in residency projects. And in this current biennial, this artist duo, actually, they're a brother and sister from Tunis, Salma and Sufyan Wisi, organized a performance called Bird. This cinema is known to be full of birds, full of pigeons all the time. And Sufyan, who you see dancing there, so they're a performance duo, brother and sister who choreograph, but he's also a dancer. And this was his first time dancing in a long time as well, so it was kind of an important moment for him as a dancer. He was thinking about COVID and how usually animals are trapped and humans are able to walk around freely. But during COVID, the animals were free and the humans were trapped. So he really wanted to create this performance with the birds, and we worked with a pigeon trainer. So he had this relationship with these 2 birds. And in the back, you see an instrument, which is an instrument very much from Sharjah, from the UAE, made of the hoofs of the cows. Yeah, and it's like a percussion. You wear it on your hips and you shake. So it's also trying to incorporate something new from the local culture as well. Another performance, I put quite a few performances here, but it's interesting when we talk about the issues of the world today and the issues that we look at. One of them is restitution. You know, a lot of the artifacts that are stolen from countries and taken to Western museums. So Fastan Liankula is an artist from the Congo. He's a performer from the Congo. Did this performance. He did a residency at the Metropolitan Museum, and he found one of the sculptures or objects that were from his ancestors. So he really wanted to talk about this history of how all the artifacts are looted and are included in the museum. So it's called My Body, My Archive. And it toured after that. Black Grace, again, looking at the geography of indigenous communities and people who were discriminated against. Black Grace, our performance, it's actually a dance company from New Zealand, but their dancers are Samoan, mainly Samoan, some Maori, Pacific Islanders. So for me, it was really important when I heard an interview that the director had on TV, on a news channel. I found it on the internet, talking about discrimination against Pacific Islanders coming to New Zealand, saying that they're taking their jobs. Again, it's looking at migration. When migrants go somewhere, the local community, sometimes there's racism and discrimination when they say, oh, these foreigners are coming and taking our jobs, without understanding the reason for this migration. So I asked about that performance that they did, and they said, well, now we want to create a new one called Paradise Rumor. Again, looking at the idea of when Western missionaries came into New Zealand to try to convert everybody to Christianity and Catholicism. So that was looking at that. And this is now touring as well. It's going to Chicago next month, the performance. Gabriela Golder, this is an example of working with local students. So we have the Sharjah Academy for Performing Arts, and the students were the performers in this project. Gabriela Golder is an artist from Argentina who did a film and a performance called Tear Out the Eyes. It's looking at the violence against protesters and demonstrators in public demonstrations, and how their eyes are always targeted. So especially in Chile, in Santiago in 2019 was the most violent, and people were aware about this idea of the eyes being targeted, but she did the history and included Hong Kong, Lebanon, and other places. It was really emotional. We had other artists from Lebanon in there who were very emotional and started crying. She said, this reminds me of Beirut. You know, people were really moved, and I have to say the students performed so well, and I'm very proud of them. So, and the students performed in different languages, Arabic and English. Yeah. This is another building that was a big success that we saved this from demolition. It was going to be demolished to create a bridge, but we tried to save it, and we used it for the Architecture Triennial. So an Sharjah Architecture Triennial is another project that we run. And I really wanted to use it for this biennial last year, and you can see an installation by Iftikhar and Elizabeth Dadi. I really liked this project they've done. Usually they show it in a white cube. The artist was very nervous to have it here because there were lots of birds flying around, and we covered some of the spaces on top so the birds don't come in. But it was very important that this reflection happens, and for me, a lot of the local people know about the plant market that's next door that was moved. So it was almost for me like a memory of the plant market that had to leave to go somewhere else. This is a performance by Brooke Andrew, Return Ceremony of Memory, another one where he collaborated with locals, but he collaborated with many people. The ceramicist was a local ceramicist. The performance group, also another performance group, and then another person playing the oud, it's like a guitar instrument, and two spoken word performers as well. So this was a good process of artists coming very early and doing site visits and meeting people and creating relationships is very important. Annalie Davis invited Yuri Gupin to work with her on this project. It's called The Plot of Disalienation. I wanted to show you this because it's a beautiful angle to see all the different spaces from the aerial view. So her work looks at the history of plantations and how enslaved people created small plots for their own medicinal purposes, and mainly women. So a lot of herbs for women's health were planted. John Akamfra, Arcadia. So it's really important to be able to produce works on a large scale that are able to be in a white cube, as well as the main spaces that are more organic and interesting. So Arcadia, again, with John's work, he looks a lot at decolonization and nature and the environment. John Akamfra is from Ghana, based British Ghanaian, and he's representing Ghana in the Venice Biennial this year. Kelba Ice Factory. So again, another building, but the process before and after. So this Kelba Ice Factory on the East Coast, we used twice before renovating it into the space that you see here. First edition, we used it with Adrián Rojas, so it was really great that he used it, and the second edition with a group exhibition. The architecture that you see here is by Peruvian architects, 511 Arquitectos. It took us, with having artist intervention, it made us really think about what we need in the space, because it's almost like an experiment, rather than renovating without knowing what our relationship with the space is. So during that time, we changed architects, actually, and we ended up with these guys. And the area around us got developed by that time. So when we were starting, it was an empty space and a factory. It was great to work in that way, but now there's a shopping mall behind us. So the area has also changed. What I asked the architects to do is also to create these apartments on the new side that face the water, that would be spaces for residencies for artists that would work there. So on the left, you see the work by Adrián, which we'll talk about after this. And on the right, a performance by Moha Modisakeng called Land of Zanj, which actually continues onto the beachfront where the public would follow. Also in Kelba this year, actually I forgot to put the date, 2023, was a local painter, Abdurrahim Salem, who did a painting performance with local musicians talking about the history of the seafarers who came from Zanzibar, because our music in Sharjah or in the UAE is very much connected to East Africa. And our culture is so much connected to East Africa, our instruments. And so they would sing in Arabic and Swahili mixed together. So this is very important that for people to understand our connection with Africa. But also I noticed in Mami's presentation that Asia starts after us, but technically we are part of Asia. So just another, we have connections with Africa, but the Middle East, what the so-called Middle East, which is a colonial term, has always been separated. And it's important to realize that it's part of West Asia, but also the connections with Africa. And a lot of people now who don't like to use the term Middle East use the term West Asia for our part of the world. Doris Salcedo, this is also in the factory now, just to show you the scale of it. Doris worked with 800 dead trees from Colombia. This talks about migration and people being uprooted and what it means to be uprooted and looking for a home. So on the other side, it's a very dense forest, but when you come all this way, it's this beautiful, kind of like flat, clean house structure. Isaac Julian. So this was a great collaboration that we did with the Barnes Foundation. I was talking about delay, like when COVID happened, we delayed the biennial by 1 year. And many artists were struggling with finishing works on time. Isaac said, I can't finish my work by March 2022. Another artist, her partner of 40 years, passed away. Many people were struggling, and I said, and my team in the office are also struggling. Why do we have to do it now? Let's wait another year. And Isaac said, but my show has to happen at the Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia, November 2022. So Sharjah Biennial won't be the premiere. And I said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who shows the work first. It's a different audience, different concept, different program. I think that's also very important. A lot of biennials or art spaces, it's always competitive. I want to show the work first. But I think now it's not so important because the people who are going to see it again and again are very small percentage. This is another building that was, this is on the top left, it's from the 70s, and then it goes down here, and then the top, and then the bottom. This is called the Flying Saucer. It's a building from the 70s that was, the first people to rent the building was a French bakery. The first croissants in the UAE were sold here. And then it became a supermarket on the bottom left. And then up here, so when I was growing up, it was the bottom. I used to go after school to the supermarket here. And then on the top was the supermarket later, a different one, a co-op, local co-op. And then a grilled chicken place. When we took it over, it was the chicken place, but I didn't have any money or time to renovate it. So I let them stay 2 more years. They paid us rent. And then in the biennial curated by Unjiju, 2015, Hassan Khan, artist, the Egyptian artist, did an intervention in the building there. And then I wanted to renovate it to what you see on the top. I wanted it all to be concrete, brutalist. I wanted to expose the dome. And our architect said, no, the acoustics will be so bad, and you have to cover the dome. And I said, trust me. We opened the dome, and it's a very interesting acoustic just in the middle. Your voice goes really high-pitched. It's almost like an alien sound. And a lot of artists find it interesting now to work with this sound. But when I did this, I started getting messages on Instagram from the community. Oh, you should open up this coffee shop here, like a coffee shop chain, you know, like, I don't know, Cafe Veloce, open it here. And I said, but no, I removed the chicken restaurant. And then I realized the people who live in the area really want a place to have coffee. So I asked if we can go under. So it took us 2 years. We went under the building, but we created a little internal garden, which I don't have the picture here, sorry, but the glass you see here. And we have, this is an old picture, now it's much fuller. We have a library, bookshop, cafe, meeting rooms, and it's very busy all the time, which is really nice. And we created a piazza on the top. It only means that you have to park a little further and walk, but it's okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience curating outside of Sharjah. So Lahore Biennale, I was invited to curate in 2020. And they had one space that they use, which is the art center. But they said, oh, the biennial has to be 2 weeks. And I said, I'm not curating a biennial that's 2 weeks. They said, oh, but the art center is only available for 2 weeks. So I said, okay, well, we go somewhere else. We don't need the art center. We'll find other spaces. And the biennial happened in many, many places around the city of Lahore. And I put this building because the story around it is there's an artist from Kazakhstan whose project looked at the observatory of Samarkand in Uzbekistan. So I thought the idea of an observatory would be nice to do in a planetarium. And I asked the team to help me find a planetarium. So they went online. They said, there is one, but nobody's answering the phone. I said, let's just get a taxi and go. And the guy who was sitting at the gate said to me, oh, come back in 1 hour. I came back in 1 hour, and at the entrance, in the entrance of the planetarium, there was a giant airplane that says PIA Airlines. And I said, but that's the sponsor of the Biennale is the airline, so this is their space, but they can let us use it. So they let us use it. We went inside. It was closed for many years, so the smell was horrible. We cleaned it, we painted it, and it became a beautiful space. And the Lahore Biennial is going to happen this year in October, so I don't know if they're going to use it, but I hope they use it. But it was interesting because so many of the local people either forgot about it or remembered their childhood there. That's also what's nice about the biennial or triennial. People who are used to their spaces around them suddenly see things that they completely forgot about. This is a local artist I worked with to create this big temple. When I went to his studio, he wanted to create a temple that was this size. And it was important for me to push the artists to create something maybe more challenging, try to give them more opportunities, because sometimes they're used to what their gallery tells them. No, do it like this because you can sell it, So I said, no, do it like this, and I have a perfect location. So, you know, it's also about supporting the artists that you work with, you know, giving them more opportunities. I'm going to try to be quick. This is Khadim Ali working his work. He works a lot with the women in Afghanistan to produce these tapestries. So again, he also works with communities to produce the work, and it's also about looking at the history and the tradition of Afghani crafts, or I don't want to say craftsmanship, but yeah, crafts, but looking at current politics. Barbara Walker, I showed in Lahore this work. I saw her work first in Venice Biennial at the Diaspora Pavilion. She does these charcoal drawings of West Indian Caribbean soldiers who fought for the British. And I thought, okay, in Pakistan, it's the same history. You had a lot of Indian Pakistani soldiers who were forced to fight for the British also. So I wanted to bring this together and asked her to do this drawing in a colonial market in Lahore. And at the end of her drawings, she wipes them out because these people are forgotten. So. Bradlaugh Hall is another building that I had to crawl into a hall to find. This building was a very important building in the time of partition, and it was talking about the freedom of India and Pakistan. It was named after a man called Charles Bradlaugh, and I showed a work by Zarina Bimji, a Ugandan British artist, and her work also talks about similar movements and political movements. After we did this, the government of Punjab in Pakistan decided that they're going to list the building and save it. Last year, I co-curated the Biennale in Tunis called Dream City. It's more of a performance Biennale, and some of the projects happen all around the city center, the Medina. This work is by Nelly Alter, a Turkish-French artist. She actually won the award for Venice Biennial this year. It's called Exile is a Hard Job, and it has that translated in different languages around. So here it was in Arabic and English, but also in Amazigh, which is a traditional and indigenous language in the areas of Tunis. Munira Solh, I walked into this place that was an old association for the education of women, and I thought of the work of Lebanese artist Munira Solh, who works a lot with women's histories, women writers, women poets, and she had these tapestries, some of which I showed in Sharjah Biennial before, and asked her if we could show them in this space and create these workshops around embroidery and women's histories. She's representing Lebanon this year for the Venice Biennial. Everybody's in Venice. A project that's supposed to start in April this year is, here on the right you see the artist Maria Magdalena Campos Pons from Cuba. She's Afro-Cuban, and she started her own biennial, triennial festival in her hometown in Cuba called Matanzas. It was very important for her that why do people always go to Havana? I want them to come to my hometown, it's special. Matanzas is known for the most Afro-Cuban community. It also has a museum of enslaved people. So we went to this, I really like this top floor of the old library. I don't know if I can use it. I hope I can use it, but I think it's a really beautiful space to activate. And here on the right, we went to this neighborhood called La Marina, which is the most disadvantaged. Like the river overflows, the water comes, it's in really terrible conditions. So I wanted to work with the community. I'm inviting artists to work there. This artist on the left, Ofari, he set up the school for these children with his wife, who's at the back over there. So working with him and working with the children. Next to this is a little space where I invited artist from Costa Rica, who I met in Costa Rica, called Carlos Fernandez. And he does a lot of work around composting and agriculture and food and cooking. So the idea is to do something and to do a composting area and a garden and a cooking section and recipes around this area of La Marina. And here he is with a very well-known Cuban artist photographer called Ramon Pacheco Salazar. And the last slide I have is I invited also Gabriela Golder from Argentina to Cuba to do a project around storytelling. So it will be a performance and a film. I'm trying to find the money for it, so we'll see if I can have it. She wanted to interview people between the ages of 65 and 95 to talk about their memories and history of Cuba, because when we were there, everybody was so really wanted to tell their story. So when we did the open call for the audition, so many people turned up. It was amazing. And she also said that one of the things that they said was when Obama came to visit, he told us to forget our history and start a new page. But that made us very angry because our history is who we are. So they really want to tell their history. So we will try to do a performance, and then by the end of this festival, which might be November, we should have a film ready. Thank you. Thanks.
ありがとうございました。では、引き継どうする？どうしましょう
Now,
かね。
are we going to continue? Adrián?
Okay, so
Adrián?
まず一旦
So, are we
Okay. あ、じゃあいいや、二人で。
okay?
Together is
You
okay.
work together.
じゃあ今からアルゼンチンから
So
来
now,
ました
I
アドリアン
would like
と
to introduce you
の二人が
Adrián, and then
話し合う
also
形でアドリアンのプレゼンテーションっていうか彼が今これまで
Ms.
やってきたことを
Qasimi
ちょっ
is
と
also working with him to explain what he has done in his art practices.
I wanted to introduce Adrián Rojas, who is an artist from Argentina. We worked together for a very long time, but I've known his practice before we even worked together. I was wondering, Adrián, if you could talk a little bit about your beginnings really as an artist and working in the materials that you do. Maybe we could look at some of the slides as we do that.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to what I'm about to say and to listen to all of us. And thank you for the invitation to be part of the symposium. And just before saying something about my, let's say, the origins, history of origins, I want to say that it's so interesting to talk about the agency of biennials and these triennials and these type of events, because I feel like most likely I am some sort of artist that exists because of this system of international events that promote very challenging projects. So at least that was my interpretation, that the occasion of a biennial or a triennial, it is an opportunity for exploration of language, right? Of what we do and how we do it and with whom we do it. So being a person who my career started around, international career starts around 2009, and it does start with a biennial. We're gonna see that work, but and then what you're gonna see is an avalanche of photographs and works of my works, and sorry, trying to. So it's a PDF with something like 160 images, because it's basically collecting something like 15 years of practice, and so you will have to absolutely forgive me because it's going to be endless. And so to talk about how I started working, or maybe the start of this PDF that we will see later on, I got invited to a biennial in the south of Argentina called Ushuaia, the End of the World Biennial. Ushuaia is the southernmost city in the world. And I saw that opportunity, as I was saying before, as a chance to explore big scale projects and outdoor work, and with a material that's quite, it's not really, I don't know if it's, should I point over there? It's moving a bit. It's a slideshow, it's moving on its own. Well, anyways, it's moving on its own, there you go. So I saw this as an opportunity to explore outdoors projects, and the work was done with clay, and it was done in, which was a quite unusual choice for an outdoors project, because basically it's the materiality, clay, doesn't allow for the work to, let's say, survive an exhibition period. So this work that we will see later on basically existed for a couple months and then disappeared. And the scale of the work was such, as many of my works, the scale, it's, of course, it's very probably clear that I don't do it on my own. I do work with a team, and we are work as some sort of a theater company. So the practice is nomadic. There's no studio where these works are produced. Most of the times they are, or probably all of the times, they are produced on site. So if I'm invited to the Aichi Triennale, the work is done in Japan. It's done most likely, in our case, maybe perhaps in Seto City, and it's done and meant for the space. This is 2022, so we are in some sort of a time displacement.
You can do it, sorry. Yeah. So we're looking at the slides a little bit from the most recent projects, going all the way back. So maybe my question wasn't the best question to start with. I'm sorry.
No, don't. My PDF, maybe it's a bit too endless, so it's.
But also, I think, like you said, you work as a theater group. You call it. I call it a tribe. You know, like your studio team. How important is that to work in that kind of? Because the people you work with is a community as well. It's a really important community. And then when you work on a site, you work with another community of locals.
Yeah. Collaboration and activation of the spaces I work with and in and on, it's fundamental in my practice. So as I was saying before, to me it was extremely clear that this scale of practice is impossible to do by myself. I do enjoy also working with others, and that can mean people from my city or from my country, but also that means people from other cities, other countries, other cultures. And the aspect of collaboration now has created something as a tribe or a community or almost a family, which is a word I use very carefully, but very dearly as well. Since 2009, I've been working with something from 10 to 20 people, and these people still works with me, which I think talks a lot about the health of the practice. I mean, our practice, let's say, as a group.
Yeah, because like talking about community and art, we talk about a lot about caring, but we have to practice that. You know, the people that you work with have to be also treated in conditions that are healthy, like you said. You know, like so people have the mental space and the health to produce the work and not feel under pressure.
Yeah, and I think what happens many times is that the movement involves a very bodily, physical commitment, right? When we arrive to a place, I mean, most of the projects, like what we are seeing, this is a very good example. This is a project that happened in Athens with a neon organization and art institution in Greece. And it took us 3 months of installation. This is also quite interesting to mention. Maybe you are like, where is the art? I mean, what this guy did here? Basically, we reactivated these places. This is a national observatory, and all the greenery, all the green life you're seeing is part of the work. So this place was basically dead before this intervention. This happened in 2017 as an effect of my intervention, my installation. We left behind an irrigation system and a much more healthy environment. So to me, as it was mentioned by Hoor before, I mean, what we leave behind and the effects of our practice, it is important. It is something I invest a lot of time with.
Can you talk a little bit about the objects that you use and what it means to kind of embed these objects within the clay and the work?
Yeah. So the materials most of the time are collected and gathered on site, and this involves a lot of pre-production, a lot of time doing research on site. It involves creating different types of alliances with different agents. Let's say, in this case, botanists or archaeologists or engineers. So materials are also the result of an extended amount of time spent on site. So what you're seeing here is basically the effect of almost 2 years of work. So these are very long-term projects that require of not only not only bodily investment, but also a lot of time, right? Which is, sorry if I'm not answering that properly.
You are. And you mentioned also the idea of how, maybe this is a good example if you go back a few pages, like how some installations disappear within the space, but some are taken to other exhibitions and kind of shown again in a new life. So here you could see this was after the project in Sharjah.
Yes, and actually, I think we're kind of close enough to go to see Sharjah, and then maybe this will make so much more sense. But I think one thing to mention before I answer how I recycle and how some fragments of projects re-enter or reappear in other of mine projects, it's worth mentioning that the reason there's something like 160 images is that the practice is many times they occupies big amounts of space, but also is very detail oriented. So you can see that we go from building walls, painting them. In this case, this is chroma key blue, which is a blue that VFX companies use to erase spaces and replace them for fantastical backdrops or whatnot. But at the same time, we go into very tiny detailing type of work where this is the freezer of a domestic refrigerator. So this is a problem I have with my work, which is it's very difficult. It's not a discrete object. It's not one unified volume of matter. It's basically world building. It's an environment, and you access it, and you have to navigate and physically commit to go through the whole, let's say, experience. And it's very complicated to photograph, and even though some things are preserved, most of what you're seeing doesn't exist anymore. And talking about also what you were saying, sorry, but I find it so interesting, the thing of scale and commercial value of the work. Most of this work is probably not easy or not possible to collect. Most of this is the Metropolitan Museum, the rooftop commission, this is 2017. What would be the possibilities of a monographic or retrospective show if some institution curator would be interested somewhere, somehow in the future? It's almost, I would say it's impossible. And this is part of the program of my work, right? Because how do you do a retrospective where you put, I don't know, forests in Ushuaia and gardens and national archaeological museums and together and Calva Ice Factory? It's a practice that cannot be easily collected, cannot be easily, the works are very fragile, very entropic. And I do this very consciously because even though we have a new museum definition, as we heard recently at Mami's son presentation, in the end, what goes into a museum is a tangible physical object. And as part of my work is to question what is collected, why we collect, why we want to preserve, and for whom and for which reasons, right? So, so this is the Calva Ice Factory, and we're getting closer and closer to the question that Hoor asked. And so here we go. We see the columns, and finally we arrived. So yeah, this work, as we saw in the blue chroma key VFX space, that was 2017. This is 2015. Actually, in 2015, and thanks to the generosity of the Sharjah Art Foundation, it was possible to deinstall the work without destroying it. So again, you're seeing an artist whose probably most important works happened in a time-based situation for a biennial, let's say, event, and I being also the recipient of generosity from different agencies, in this case, the Sharjah Art Foundation. So the Sharjah Art Foundation not only enabled me to deinstall the works and not destroy them, but also helped me store them for many years, which is, again, it's a big problem for an artist to pay for storage, let's say, when the practice also is not commercially that profitable. So these works were stored for 2 years and then traveled to LA for these other blue chroma key shows. And some of my works re-enter this cycle of recyclation, let's say. Some don't. So something that I really, I love about this work is that, and I think this is something that Hoor mentioned, there were plans for this museum to happen, which were, again, very lucky person you have here. Hoor accepts to stop the renovation of the ice factory for my installation to happen. Then, because, I mean, and you correct me, because we have this opportunity to have this conversation in a very intimate situation. And then the plans change because somehow you understand that this space can be used in different ways, no?
So we had a plan for the factory, and then there was a situation with those architects, and our local architect decided to do another plan for the factory, but they wanted to do the construction at a certain time because construction prices were going to go up because Expo 2020 in Dubai, the World Cup in Qatar. And I said, no, I really want an artist to use this space as is, as a shell. And I was so happy when Adrián wanted to use it. And within that time, it also gave me time to find another architect who would be more sensitive to the space. And I really wanted to use the space as it was twice before we renovated. So I have a saying I always use in Arabic. It's called, every delay has a blessing. So if something doesn't happen on time, there's a reason it's supposed to happen later.
Yeah, and this is probably the first project where I see the effects of my work affect the institution that hosts me. And I many times mention this story because it is part of my practice, I feel, to create this sort of let's say, like healthy, loving critique of how we use space, no?
Maybe I didn't mention this to you, but the day we finished the installation of your work in Kalba, I went to see it with the technicians there, and the birds were flying and the sound, and I actually cried. I have to say, the installation was so moving. That was also part of like what you feel in the space that you can't see in the images. You can't hear the birds, you can't see the birds, you can't, so the wind, the breeze that you can feel. And I think your work is very much about the atmosphere. So I'm really, really excited to see what's going to happen for Aichi.
So thank you so much for that. So I don't know how we're doing with time.
You have
30 minutes, oh my God. 1-3, okay. What are we gonna do?
Maybe talk a little bit about maybe go back, keep going till you hit the first work.
Yes, let's go to the. So sorry again, this is a very long PDF. Here we're seeing a project at the Documenta 2012. And we are approaching to a phase of works that involve mostly clay and, again, very site-specific work. And here we are with the famous whale. So this is 2009, as I was saying, the end of the World Biennial. This is something like 35 meters long, 4 meters tall, not necessarily scientific reproduction of a whale, blue whale, some sort of mutant, fantasious, fabulative expression of a whale. And when I finished this project, this basically happened very fast, and it took me a long time to understand. I mean, I was extremely nervous because this was my first biennial invitation, and I knew clay was somehow meant to fail, but fail in the sense of for how long this will stay, how much will it withstand environmental agencies. So I was somehow, this is me at 28, and it took us with a team of 3 other Argentines that are still working with me, Alan Legal, Mariano Marcicano, and Cesar Martins. This is the first team outside of my family and friends from university that helps me and works with me in a beautiful, loving manner, but they had a fee. We were so it was a very professional environment for this to happen. And basically, during the opening of the biennial, the work starts to melt and crack and deteriorate super rapidly. And at the time, again, I was trying to somehow reckon with the fact that this thing was not going to last, even though it took us so much physical effort, and we had to bring this clay that was quarried from a quarry in the outskirts of Ushuaia, the city I was working in. At the time, I didn't know I was kind of receiving or creating the template of much of my practice, which is, again, nomadic, delocalized, with prolonged stays in the space we work. With when I say we, I many times talk in plural because, I'm not a singular creator. I work with others that help me and help me tons. And also the practice is time-based. The practice is borderline performatic because, again, these are bodies in action, creating and making something. The practice involves materials that are harvested, collected locally. The practice involves materials that can also dissolve and be reintegrated in the landscape. So this whale didn't need any type of deinstalling. It just basically went away. The practice also involves a very deep engagement with different local agencies. Again, we have the municipality. We learned there was a quarry where we could extract clay. That clay had no cost, so it was a very cost-effective project. And at the same time, also I learned that, okay, clay is everywhere. Clay is Earth. Clay is the history of life on planet Earth. It's basically organic life compressed and compacted and embedded into the very soil we step on every day. So I was like, kind of at this time, in real time, digesting and understanding that there was somehow this project was trying to tell me something, and I was trying to learn from this. So I don't know if it's making sense, but that.
So how did the public react to this? Because you're inviting the public to a forest. It's not that they're going to a museum. So tell us what the experience was like and the outcomes.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because actually I was thinking about what happened with many of these projects, and something I don't think I succeed anymore on, which is what art biennials and museums do is that they address an object or experience to a human or group of humans, right? Like, things are done by humans for humans. That's a very strong contract we have when we enter a museum, right? We are like, okay, this is done by humans, and we as humans are gonna interact with the history of the making of these things. When the biennial come with a symbolical infrastructure of a biennial, they come with a little sign like this thing, and they plant that thing at the entrance of the forest. And what I did, again, at a very gut level, it was pure intuition back then. I grabbed the sign and I took it with me. And I hid it. And because I wanted the audience to go into this forest, which was a very well-known forest in the middle of the city, without, let's say, the preconception that they will find art. I just wanted people to find something, be surprised, and be affected by some sort of experience. And many people, maybe they just go in the forest and don't find a whale. Maybe they just find a wonderful forest. So I am interested in audience, but also I am interested in the fact that audience needs to be addressed in much more oblique ways sometimes to generate, in my opinion, richer interactions. And what happened, not with this whale, but a second whale I did in the opposite part of Argentina in the north, which I don't think we have a photo of. Let's see. Anyways, it's like, do we have? No. So anyways, what happened with this other project, which was another whale in this desert area, is that many years after, a drone was navigating this region, and they found the whale. Again, there was no labels, there's not a museum, it's outdoors. It's a very desert, barren area of San Juan, northwest of Argentina, and it goes into the news. And they're like, a new fossil of a whale discovered, and it took some 48 hours for press to discover that actually this was a work of art. I think that was probably the most successful project I ever done, because the thing had an agency, that sculpture, that whale had an agency, but had an agency beyond the art world or art or the manifestation of the creation of a human, and entered a dialogue in a much more profound and broad way with other agencies, press, geology, archaeology, histories.
We have 5 more minutes. I was wondering if you could tell everyone here what it means for you to be here in Japan. I know you have a lot of interest in Japanese culture growing up and art. So just what it means for you and what it's been like. Since you've only been here a few days, but I think they might be interested to know.
Yeah, I mean, this is a trip I've been meaning to do since I'm 12, more or less. So it's happening 32 years after the fact, and I am extremely excited because this again, it's been meaning to happen in my mind for 32 years. I'm a huge fan of manga and Japanese animation, and I feel now more than ever that a lot of my way to imagine the future has been affected by manga art and Japanese animation art, and so it is a moment for me to find my own imaginations of what's, I mean, the little I will be able hopefully to explore of Japan and this capacity to imagine the future, no? And I feel like many people of my generation have been affected by things like Ghost in the Shell, Akira, Atom, Osamu Tezuka, Masamune Shirow, Katsushiro Tomo. I mean, so many incredible artists. And I think many people have been imagining the future with a lot of components that have to do with Japanese culture. It's quite interesting how we always, there's some sort of inception happening at different levels with different levels of popular culture. And I feel I've been extremely affected by Japanese culture in terms of manga and animation.
Yeah, like you said, it's all over the world. We had it dubbed in Arabic, so and other countries had it also in Spanish or other languages. So the influence of our generation, we're the same age, so the influence of our generation is really great here. So I think we're going to stop here, but thank you, Adrián.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to my presentation.
はい。ありがとうございました。じゃあ、はい。ではですね、
Now,
3時
at the end of the presentation and from 3 o'clock,
片岡さんにも入っていただいた
including
形での
Kataoka-san and
ディ
others,
スカッションといい
we'd
ます
like
か
to have a
パ
panel
ネル
discussion.
ディスカッションの方に入りたいと思いますので、今から
So
15時まで
we'll
休憩
have
ということで、
15
また
minutes break.
15時にこちらの方にお戻
And
りくだ
please
さい。
come
ありが
back
とうございます。
here at 3 o'clock. Thank you very much.
はい、では、ここからはですね、今日16時に終了します
Steady
の
and
で、
this event will close
そ
at
れまで、
4 p.m.
ディスカッションを
And now we are
ちょっ
going
と
to have the
進めていきたいと思いますが、
discussion from now.
まずですね、2月の1日にですね、
First of all, the February 1st,
フール・アルカシミさんの方から今回の、テーマ
the director, Ms. Qasimi, released the the theme and concept of this event. Maybe everyone has brochure. The theme is very lovely, the time between ashes and roses. It's a very beautiful concept. First of all, could you tell us about the theme and what kind of thought and passion you have in terms of this concept?
Thank you, Haito. For me, the title, A Time Between Ashes and Roses, is something I've been thinking of for a long time. It's a poem that I find very interesting. Adonis is a very important Syrian poet in our part of the world. He's based in Paris. And this poem was written after the 1967 war that affected us in the Arab world, and trying to understand what happens after destruction, what happens after war, when everything is destroyed, but everything will become alive again. So I thought, when I was invited to do something for Aichi Triennale, I wanted to focus on a project that affects all of us globally, not to focus on maybe a politics or situation of a certain area, because me as an outsider, I'm not going to come and talk about Japan, it's not my place, but to talk about something with artists from all over the world, and something that affects all of us in an equal way, and that is urgent right now. I thought it was fitting to look at the environment and how we've created such destruction in the environment and around us, and maybe there will be some blossoming afterwards. So that really was my focus. And I was interested in this concept, and the whole time Adonis's poem is in my head, and I thought it would be a beautiful title because I am very interested in also poetic titles. I think poetry touches people in a way that is unique, and it's important to include that. Yeah.
Thank you. This time, the ashes and roses. Hai means my name is the Haito, the Japanese sound, the hai and ashes is my. This is the sound of Japanese hai and the English. The translation hai is similar, so I am a little bit surprised when I heard the hai or the ashes. Now, Adrián kindly showed us his project and great achievement. Everyone has a high expectation for his future project. So, Adrián, this time you will visit the Seto city, and you visited the place. Sorry, at first I want to ask you about Ms. Qasimi, about the impression of the Seto city. Could you start with Ms. Qasimi? And the people in Seto city kindly showed them the many places in Seto city, the beautiful places. And so they made every effort and for them to create the arts, artistic work. So at first, I would like to ask Ms. Qasimi about the impression you get about Seto City, and after that, Adrián, please give us the impression you had about Seto City. So at first, Ms. Qasimi, please.
Hi, thank you. So I visited Seto City maybe 3 times now. Was it 4 times? I forget. 4 times? 3 times. And each time I'm discovering new places, but I've also seen the city changing as well. I saw new coffee shops open again over there, the developments that are happening. We had a meeting at the assembly recently, and there were some ideas and suggestions also from people. So I'm very much interested in learning more from the people in Seto City and the people working for the city have helped so much. They're genuinely interested in the process and have been helpful trying to kind of understand our requirements, but also give us some ideas of what is possible. So I think there's still some more exploration to do. We'll be going back again and again. Seto City is very much a very site-specific location for Aichi Triennale 2025. So it's important that we spend as much time as possible and listen to the people there and listen to their experience and how they navigate the city as well.
I think I relate very well to passion and people committed to something they love. And being in Seto City and, well, basically most of the research I was conducting is related to clay and ceramics, and engaging with different scholars and practitioners, seeing the museums, you basically see such a deep and profound love for the practice. And again, I do respond very well to obsession and passion and love for something. And I think that's something that moves me, and it's something I want to, it triggers, you know, it makes me want to be part of that. So I found that in Rose there.
先ほど言いましたけども、基本的にこう写真を見てすごく
Basically, we have seen your achievement. You have done a great dear work. And then maybe everyone has a high expectation for your future work, and we still don't know what kind of things you are doing in the future. So that in your brain, Adrián, maybe you have a lot of ideas. Maybe you have, and then we all are very looking forward to seeing your future projects. So please keep it secret. Please keep it secret.
はい。で、Kataoka さんにちょっと質問なんですが、
So I have a question to Miss Kataoka.
まずフールの作られたコンセプトについて、もちろん
About the concept of Miss Qasimi.
2025に
And 2022, we had a concept, and this time we had a new theme about the time between ashes and roses. What do you think?
そうですね。いやとても美しい
I think this concept is so beautiful.
やっぱりその誰がどうい
And
う
then
背景からどういう時代
who
にそれを
have
提案するのかっ
what
ていうことに
kind
よ
of
るので、
environment
ま
and
あフ
context?
ールの出身
So,
地
and
で
the
ある
who
まあ
has
そ
the
の East Asia というエリア
her
と、それ
background,
からまあ実際にその
and then
コロナとまあ
we
並走する
experienced
形
the
で各地で
pandemic.
戦いが起こっている
And
時代
during
な
the
の
time,
で、
we
まあ
had
そ
a
の
lot
状
of
況を
conflict
世
in
界
many
の状況を
places.
考えると、
And
まあ
thinking
その中
about
でそ
a lot of
の
challenges in the world,
私のダイアグラムでも示しましたけれ
as
ども、
I
その
showed in my
対
diagram in the
立関係にあるような
presentation,
概念を
we
ま
have
あ
the
どちらかを選ぶ、あるいは
conflicting
どちらかの
concept.
がどちらが
And
正
then
義であるのかということを決めることがもうとても難しい時に、
It's difficult to decide which one is right or which one is not right. So
領域を探すとい
we
う
are
の
looking
は
for
まあとても
the
タイムリーなことだなというふうには
area
思
and
いまし
space
た。
to think about
まああとは
the
そのセットについて
between the
は
right and not
まあどう
right.
具体的に
And
どの
regarding the
会場を使う
Seto
ことになったの
city,
か決まったかどうかわからないんです
I
け
have
ど、
no idea
の
that you have
その
already
ホワイト
decided
キューブ
which
とそれから
place you
街
will
中会場の
use.
対比で難しいの
And
は
when I think
ホ
about
ワ
the
イトキューブは
difference between the
展
white
示のため
cube
の空間
and
なので
on-site venue,
場所の意味がないことで、
and
まあ
white
作品の
cubic
独自
is
性
very
が保たれるというために
difficult because
近代
it
以降の
has
美術
no
においてホワイトキューブ
the
っていうのが
external
作られたんですけど
impression,
も、なので
the
例えば
influence.
会の中の絵画とか、
For
まあそういうそ
example,
の
the
場所の意味
drawing
がありすぎ
in
ないようにホワイ
church
トキューブが作られたんですが、今ま
has
た
a meaning,
再びそ
has
の
a
場所に意味
big
がある
meaning,
ところ
but
に
white
アー
cube
トを
is
置くと
very
いうことが
plain.
芸術祭ではなされていて、でただ、まあ愛知の場合には優秀なアーキテクトがいるの
And
でいろいろやっ
in
てくれるんですけど
Aichi,
も、
we
まあ
have a
展
lot
示に
of
こ
the
ぎつけるまで
great
がなかなか大変なの
architects,
と、
but
あとは
in the
その
future we
芸術
have
祭
the
の
very
期間
difficult
中
time
使える
to
ような場所が
open
ないとい
the
けなくて、で先ほど
festival
ルールが見せてくれた
and
みたいに 空いてる巨大な場所みたいなのがある方が
We need to have some spacious big place, and then so Adrián can create the very powerful performance.
So like a huge plant in Seto, if you have those things available, and maybe you have to ask people to raise hands in order to provide a good space, huge space for Adrián and artists. Well, we are researching into Seto City, and Ms. Qasimi gives us requests, and we want this space and that space, and she's giving us advice. And the Seto City is very positive in giving advice to us and making proposals to us. That is very instrumental to us as well, and it seems to me that there are a lot of interesting ideas coming from them. So, Seto City is a town of ceramic, and they have plants, and those plants are closed, and the industry itself is leveling off at best or even declining. So they would like to have places where those spaces are used. For us, I think Seto is a very, very favorable option choice because they want us to use the space. But anyway, we have to really find out whether those places are appropriate for the artist. But Seto City, well, Tokoname and Ms. Kataoka, without your attempt to do Triennale and Arimatsu as well. And well, people really go to those places in order to visit those local places. But they came because there were Triennial back in 2022, and Seto City is famous for ceramics, and Seto Mono is very famous. And but there are very few people who have been to Seto City to visit a ceramic plant. So I think you should enjoy Triennial, and then also they should visit industries and plants to know more technologies and their daily practices, and it's worthwhile. So this is something happened in Aichi Triennale 2010. Aichi Triennale, the first event, was done within Nagoya City, not other venues. And the Choja-machi Street was used back in 2010 for the venue. Then we tried to use the City Museum and the Prefectural Museum, and just in between this Choja-machi Street exists. So this is a very convenient place for us, just between the two museums. That is why we chose this place. And also we had empty buildings available. So well, the town itself, street itself was declining, but well, it was a great opportunity for us because the street was declining, but there are empty spaces. So this created a good environment for us. And 2010 and 2016, the time goes by, it becomes more and more difficult for us to find spaces because the street developed. So we could not use the spaces for the art installation and the display. So that was unfortunate good aspect. Well, in the case of Seto, this time we are able to get good spaces for the exhibits, and we are able to incorporate good artists to your spaces, and that will be very exciting, and that is my feeling, my gut feeling. But so in a kind of combination, art, in order to do art event, well, there have to be a space. And of course, we have to think about the effect of art event. Ms. Qasimi, you have been engaged in a lot of international projects, and by doing the art project, did you see any changes of the community after the international festival? Have you ever observed any changes of the community after the festival?
I mean, for Lahore, I did 2020. So, this year they'll have their next edition. They didn't have one since 2020 because of the pandemic and politics and everything happening. And with Dream City Tunis, it was just now. So the only one I could talk about is Sharjah Biennial. But it was 20 years, and it takes 20 years really to see a difference, because I've seen people who grew up as children with Sharjah Biennial who are now adults. Some of them used to come and do workshops, now they work with us. So it's really important to understand that these changes take time, and it's about generations that are growing. So it's not about seeing a quick fix, it's not about how many people visited this time, how many people visited that time, because if it can inspire 1-2 people, you already did your job. And I think it's good to just to be patient and not expect quick results all the time.
I think this is the same in Aichi. It started in 2010. So triennial takes place every 3 years. And I think that some people have been observing in the first event, 2010, and they changed their attitude to look at the city. And it is very difficult for us to hold a street event. And in the case of Sharjah, you can repeat the streets. But in the case of Aichi, we have to change the streets, and we have to start from scratch at each time. Then we can choose the city, but regarding the actual location, which place would be appropriate, and we have to decide each time. And the prefectural people are having a difficult time in choosing the best location for us and solution for us. So we explain to them, and we ask them to use, and we have to develop those communities, and there has to be a accumulation of knowledge. And if they are able to expand the accumulation of knowledge, that will make it easier for them to be part of the event, I think.
This is what I really like about Aichi Triennale, because like Sharjah, it's the emirate of Sharjah, so like Sharjah Prefecture. And then we have many cities. And for me, it was very important that the biennial goes out of the city center. That's why when we used Kalba, the factory where Adrián's work was, it's the East Coast, it's 2 hours drive from the first slide that I showed you of the old town. So it's really important that art goes to those communities, and not only as something like token or small. No, it's like a big project. It's the main site. It's not an off-site. I always tell people, don't call it off-site. It's all of equal importance. And that's what I like about Aichi Triennale, that it's not only happening in Nagoya, but it's giving other cities in Aichi Prefecture the chance to be part of this project. And that's really important for me.
Well, according to the statistics, and art centers, this is the biggest turnout, and other peripheral venues, maybe the percentage of turnout will be very low. So we would like to create a whole narrative by using different venues. So it's the first chapter and second chapter for each venues. So I think that the art center will be the first place for them to visit. But I think you will create a passport for the entry. So local people would go to different venues in the weekend. So that will mean that they will complete the whole narrative of the event. So it's cost of cuisine. You enjoy the whole cuisine, whole set. Well, as you know very well, it used to start in August, but this time you may have realized that it is 1 month later into autumn period, because Japanese summer is too hot. too hot.
ということを誰もが
So everybody knows it. Everybody experiences it. So when we discussed how we do it, then everybody said that it's impossible to do in summer. So we recognize that it is impossible. So Aichi Triennale, it's been widespread in the community. So we were able to make it 1 month later because everybody knows that there is going to be a triennial in 3 years. So I think you will have a better time because it's not too humid. At the time of Kataoka-san's time, we had a lot of content, and the venues were Ichinomiya and Arimatsu and Tokoname. So they are very good places. However, it will be very difficult for them to cover everything in 1 day, and it's really hot in summer. But this time, we are using Seto City.
So this time we decided to include the Seto City compared to the previous exhibition. Maybe you feel more comfortable because the weather is a little bit calm. And in Seto City, it will take only 35 minutes from Nagoya. It's very convenient. And it's easy to walk and walk around and enjoy the art in Seto City. So in the previous festival, because of the unbelievably hot weather, the visitors had a hard time to walk around and enjoy the art. And as I said, Seto City, there are a lot of the beautiful places, not only in front of the station. Some places are far away from the station, but we are going to find good places to show the great art pieces by the great artists. So that from the few months from now, we are going to the few months and to try to create the art festival. My question is, 1 day is enough to show the exhibition? I don't think so. That we have time and money and effort to collect a huge amount of art, and then we create the detailed plan, and we spend a lot of time. So I think the 3 months is not enough to enjoy the exhibition, complete the exhibition. And during the summer, it's very hot, and in the autumn we have the typhoon, and then we have the a little bit weeks or the months. So the 3 months is not enough. That's my opinion. As a curator, the creator, I want to expect the more people to spend more time, not only 1 day. During the 3 months, the visitors come many times and enjoy the art pieces many times. That's the beauty of the International Art Festival.
Yeah, we had the same thing. So after postponing the biennial by 2 years, I decided to add an extra month, but July is too hot for us. So we started 1 month early, and we decided the biennial will be 4 months instead of 3 months. And when it was in May, everybody was asking me to postpone until 1 extra month. They want 5 months. It was impossible because it was too hot and we already had to ship the works back. But it shows that there's a demand from the local people. Every weekend they go again and again because they don't have to see everything in 1 day. It's close for them. Even from like Abu Dhabi, 2-hour drive, they would come on the weekend just to see, this project by Bushra Khalili. I'm gonna come back next week just to see this location. And they make it part of their weekend or holidays. And I remember before it was closing, everybody was sending me photographs and videos saying, oh, we're doing a goodbye tour of the biennial. They were doing goodbye tours, and they're always sending me crying faces But I think it's really nice because you realize how special the biennial is to the people. And if you encourage people to not try to see everything in one time, take your time, enjoy it. It's on for 3 months or whatever long it is. Just enjoy it and take the time to see it properly. Because artists worked for so long to make this happen. Curator worked for so long. I know some artists would say, people have a short attention span. They can look at art in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. That's not very respectful of our work because you spend years creating the work. We spend years preparing the work. So the audience should also spend time appreciating the work as well.
Can I say a little thing about weather? I think a museum is it's kind of a freezer, in the sense that there's no time, it stops, no? Like the moment things enter a museum, buy to time. And the moment things enter a museum, supposedly there's no other, let's say, intervention in your interaction with the thing that's being exhibited. I think if we have to be very careful not to turn site-specific, outdoor, biennial experiences into white cube experiences. We don't need to be in what we would call architectural white cube spaces. We can turn a park, a forest, a ceramic shop, abandoned factory, any place. We can epistemically turn it into a white cube. So yes, we don't want the discomfort of hot weather. I come from a city where we have very, very cold weather, like here, and we have very, very hot weather, very similar to here, very humid. Include me in the list of people hating summer. But at the same time, I do want to explore possibilities where our bodies engage in temperature, physical, very complicated movement. I want the experience to be more than, the white cube turns you into an eye. You don't have a body, you are an eye. And I think I feel we want more complicated experiences, and these are also engaged in our body, sometimes hopefully gentle discomfort, no? Or some other out of the norm experience of our bodies.
Yes, in Nagoya, it's extremely hot, unbelievably hot.
I'm sure.
This time I had a conversation with Adrián. In September, the exhibition will start. And then, like artists like Adrián, he will come to the venue and start preparation. So Adrián is very site-specific artist. That he will prepare on site, and he will come to Seto in August. I don't know whether it's okay for him. Maybe he understands it's extremely hot. Preparation will start in August. Very hot weather. And then from Centria, he came to the Nagoya and he joked about the weather. The site-specific, that concept is ingrained in the local people, and understand the history and understand the history of the buildings and the site. It's very custom-made, very special. So you need to come to the venue and experience the artwork. So from the local people, we would appreciate artist effort. So the visitors go to the Seto city, and then you will see the site-specific art. And as I said, there are different kinds of the exhibition art festival. So what we need to do is to create Aichi-oriented festival. That's very important.
芸術祭によっていろんな機会をも
And
らってきたというふうに彼は言ってましたけれども、やっぱ
the
り新しい
Adrian
挑
had
戦をする、
different
新しい作品を
experiences
制
in
作
many
する
places,
機
and
会
he
を
tried
得る
to
っていうこと
create
も
something new all the
芸術祭
time,
にとって
and
もアー
he
ティストに
relied
とって
on
も
the
非常に重
challenges
要なこ
and
となので、
opportunity,
もちろん
and
その既
he
存の作
will
品を
create
持ってき
something
て
new.
ちょうどぴったり合うということもありますけ
And
れども、
so
やっぱり芸
for
術祭
some
が果たしている
artists,
役割は
they will
アー
bring
ティスト
their
に
masterpiece,
新
but
作を作る機会を与えるっていうことはすごい大
for
きいかな
us,
と思いますけどね。
we would like to give opportunity to create the artwork on site.
今回フールさん
So,
の
Ms. Qasimi,
国際芸術祭愛知2025において
and
い
in
わゆる
Aichi Triennale 2025, and we're talking about the site-specific
要するに作品が
art
いわゆる新作みたいな
and a new production, site-specific and new production. Do you think that it's going to increase, or what the balance of
旧作というか
existing products, something available is carried over to Aichi and the new production, and what the balance? Do you have any particular balance of new products and existing products?
I mean, it all depends on the budget, of course. but but for me, I think what we noticed in Seto City were all the ceramic studios and workshops. And I think it's very important to collaborate with the local production, and not only to involve them, but it's also exciting for artists who are coming, like Adrián and others, to be able to use these facilities. So I think it also creates this relationship between the artists and the workshops. Hopefully we will try to see and use the site and local materials as much as possible. I think trying to always ship artworks is very costly, not sustainable. Sometimes you can't prevent it 100%, but if you can try to avoid it as much as possible, I think it's more sustainable. And we have to really think about our practice as biennials. You know, how can we create the same kind of international festival or exhibition without creating so much waste, without creating wasting so much money, or without creating a lot of stress for the team, or all of these things are important to think about when you think of sustainability.
Thank you very much. Now, existing production carrying over to Japan, is it more costly, or making a new production in Japan is costly? It's very difficult to make a right judgment because the transportation freight is very, very expensive, and using air freight, it's very expensive, and also because of the war, fuel is also becoming very expensive, and the materials are prioritized for the war site and battlefield. And back in 2022, this kind of a situation also started, and of course, pandemic and the freight cost is 3 times as high in the past than in the past, and also people coming over to Japan, air freight cost still very high, it's still hovering. I think it's slightly declining, but anyway, it's not the same as the pre-COVID era. So there is no discount. Then 2022, we wanted to invite South America and Africa from Japan, and we asked them to send their production to Japan, and it's very expensive, and inviting people very expensive, and which is more prioritized, making a new production. Well, for artists coming over to the local place and make products and work pieces, it's much better than just sending the art pieces alone. So because that would enrich their experiences, and then also understand that we have a limitation in materials and the budget, but having artists in the local places, I think there is a new energy generated by having those artists in the local places. There has to be differences in the level of energy rather than asking them to sending actual art pieces. So my priority is asking artists to come over to Japan. So, Adrián, you spent 2 days, from Rosario, Buenos Aires, and he went to Frankfurt. Then he came to Haneda, and as you know, from Haneda, flying to Nagoya, he had to wait. So he spent 3 days to come to Japan. So I think he's very tired. He's worn out, and here in Nagoya after those long travels, and I think it is very tough for him. But then after this experience, and I would like to know what you experienced in Nagoya and Aichi. What was the experience in Nagoya and Aichi in this visit, Adrián?
Sorry. To say something, I mean, I want to go back 2 seconds to shipping versus doing something on site, because I feel it's such a, it's a very, very hot topic now, right? I think, as we were saying, that site-specific means a variety of agencies working on the way we work as, let's say, the persons involved in creating an experience for our audience. Our audience also works in a very different way. Let's say the museum is a place where we have all these guarantees. The contract is set up, has something like 200 years. We more or less know quite well how to behave there. But when we enter these other realms of outside the museum safety, inverted commas, we adventure ourselves in, again, a variety of complexities that are, I feel, very generous and rich. And one is, I mean, limitations need to be accepted lovingly. How much money we have is a modeling agents. How much time we have to create something, it's another sculpting agents. What's our site, if it's too hot, if it's too cold, it's another of these, let's say, very contextual forces that create something. No? And I always say, I never do what I want. I never do what curator or institution wants. It's something around that in-between negotiation and transaction. And it is absolutely about consensus. We all together need to agree of that space where we all know what will happen more or less, and we are satisfied with that. And that's a very specific skill of site-specific work. And anyways, I just needed to say that. And then talking about site-specific, yes, you maybe don't ship artworks, you ship artists. And I think this is what I was trying to say when I talk about my bodily investment and the bodily investment of my collaborators. When we travel, like Documenta Castle 2012, we spent 3 months working on site. For Sharsha Biennial, we spent 2 months working. For Mocha Geffen 2017, we spent 2 months working on site inside the museum. Again, site-specific work requires that type of commitment to traveling. I do commit myself to that. I don't suffer it. Yes, I'm not getting younger, clearly. Every minute I'm aging. But at the same time, it is something I wanted and this is something I tried to, in my awful presentation, what I tried to say with this whale and this project in Ushuaia, that's the very first time someone comes and says, please come do something outside of your city or Buenos Aires, let's say. And I was invited to Ushuaia, so it was like 4 hours on a plane and new place, and I was so excited. And I was like, I want my work to enable myself to know other places, to know other people, to engage with others. It was extremely naive. I was 28. I don't think I studied site-specific protocols in art school, but somehow I was navigating the uncertainties, the wonderful uncertainties of site-specific work. So my experience so far, it's been incredible. One can be more or less tired, but this is something I'm very used to do, and I'm very happy to do. And I think it's very meaningful. Again, that's why an experience like Sharsha Biennial with Hoor, when I learned that me spending so much time with my team on site and creating that project and enabling the institution and the director of the institution and curators to rethink how to use a space, I was like, this is the best compliment. This is one of the, it's like the whale that people thought was some false. You know, it's like, it's these tiny little moments where you say, what I'm doing makes sense. Because I do want others to use me as a platform for reflection and self-critique, generous and loving again. Today's in Nagoya. No, I mean, I'm very bad at answering directly questions. My experience so far is, I think there's a lot of possibilities. I think there is a lot of richness in the space, in the city. I do need to spend more time, and this is what we are gonna do now. I feel Aichi Triennale has 15 years of history, but still has a very young spirit. And I think there's so much to do and to learn. And also I need to learn so much. I have a lot of expectations of me learning from this experience. And hopefully I will bring some of my experiences to here, to exchange with all of you.
はい、ありがとうございます。はい。
Thank you very much.
フールさんから一度質問があったんですけど、やっぱりこう、
I had
アドリアンって
fresh
日
the
本
question,
の
Mr. Fu,
こうアルゼンチン時代にやっぱりすごく日本の文化、漫画
and
とかそのあたり
about the comics and anime in
関
Japan,
心を持ってたところ、ちょっとだ
that
け
you are
少し
interested in the Japanese
ど
anime
んな
or
経験
manga.
を持ってたか、
What kind of experience you have?
昔
This to the question to
アニメカルチャー
Adrián.
についてすごく関心を持
You
ってた
talked about you're interested in Japanese anime and manga.
大須に行かれた話をちょっと
So you went to Osu? Could you
大須
share
大須
your experience that
You have
you
been
went to Osu?
to shop.
Osu is the place, the name of place. You went to Osu in Nagoya?
Yeah, just me.
Oh, but how many hours we have? I mean, sorry. What happens to me is I love the language of manga, fumetti, comics, historietas. I love storytelling. I love world building. I don't have a memory of myself not drawing something or telling someone some story I was fabulating. And I feel all art aspires to comics. All art aspires to manga. I feel somehow the history of this species, humans, with markings, with communication, is all archived in the history of comics. All the different ways we have created to communicate through marks are inside manga, are inside comics, are inside historietas. So that is an aspect that fascinates me of manga, comics, etc. So it was incredible experience.
はい、ありがとうございます。そうしましたらですね、ここからちょっと10分ほど
From
ですけど
now
も、
we have
会場の
another
皆さん
10
から
minutes.
ご質問をちょっと受けてですね、
I think the
見たいと
floor
思いま
is
すので、
open to the everyone. We would like
ご
to
指名の上
accept
はい
some questions
質問を
or
受けたいと思いま
comment.
すが、いかがでしょうか。じゃあその方、はい、どうぞ。
Thank you very much for your discussion and the presentation. And I have a few questions.
そうだな。シャルジャとやはりこの愛知の状況かなり
So I think that there is a big difference between Sharjah and Aichi.
サイトスペシフィックな
And this time,
のことの話多かったと思
You
いますけ
talked
れども
about the site-specific
まあアクセ
art.
スの方法がかなり異なってくる
But
と
I think that there is a difference
愛知の場合
about
は
the
まあ
access.
メトロがやっぱりでの移動っていうのがメインに
In
なってくると思う
Aichi,
けど
there is a
シャルジャは
subway. and nostalgia, maybe you will take taxi to move one place to another place. And in Aichi, the people visit different places, and then maybe we can use not only the subway, but also we can use other transportation, bus. And then using the different kind of transportation is the means the access of the local resource. What do you think about that, using the different kind of transportation? And I have another question to Ms. Kataoka. You talked about the museum and its work. And then when we think about the international art festival and museum, and then we have different kind of type of biennale, or the art festival. And actually, I am the curator of the Gifu Prefectural Museum. And for me, sometimes this kind of event is non-profit event. And then I think art fair and biennale should be worked together. And then that will be effective to promote the art festival. So I have a question to Ms. Kataoka. Do you have any plan to promote a kind of other artificial festival? Sorry, your question has a lot of points. So thank you. That covers a lot of the points. First of all, about the access. I talk about the access to the venue. Now we are considering about the easy access from the administration side. We are now exploring the best way and the effective way for visitors to visit different places to enjoy the art pieces. And he asked about the collaboration of the conglomerate of the art fair and museum and biennale, triennale. Ms. Kataoka will talk. And this triennale has different kind of exhibition in museum and site-specific, and it's a collaboration. And like art fair, exhibits the art, the pieces, work pieces, and then sometimes there is a transition, a sell and a buy of the art pieces. And the festival itself is not pursuing the profit. And then in Triennale, Biennale, the artists make some work pieces, and then after the event, some museum preserve the art pieces in their site. And then at the same time, the artists create something, and they have to prioritize the sustainability. So I think that in order to circulate the beautiful ecosystem of the museum and the art festival, the beautiful circulation as the ecosystem is really important. From my point of view, this kind of the art, the festival is not only for the profit based in the event. And then in the United States, affluent people, they buy the art pieces and send it to the museum. And then there is the difference and the subtle relationship how the art pieces are used and preserved.
全体としてのファイナンシャルなサステイナビリティ
So I think that I think that it's difficult to pursue the financial-based sustainability. It's very tough and challenge. And in the past, I created the art pieces, and how to preserve it is the good topic. And I had a conversation with the governor. And so the Mr. Haita is now the director, and so he will work and to create the better ecosystem. And so the artworks will be preserved in the Aichi Prefecture and the museum.
So I think it's important to say, like Mami-san said, it's not about, biennials are not about profit, no. Art fairs are commercial. They're buying, selling, they install work in a horrible way. You know, all the work is crammed into a space. It's not about, it's not an inspiring place. I think biennials do something different. Even they do things that museums can't do. And the profit shouldn't be about ticket sales. The profit is what it does to the place. Nobody knew Sharjah. Now everybody knows Sharjah Biennial. I think what it does in terms of the people that it brings to the place, the people that visit the shops, you know, people are going to buy souvenirs, people are going to eat there, people are going to use the hotels there. That's the profit. It's not about how many tickets you sell. So I think this is really important to think about it in that way, that it's not about profit of ticket sales, but profit of what it does to a place in the long term.
What was the third question?
Yeah.
He was asking about 何でしたっけ?
So what did you say? It looks like a kafir.
This is my culture, so I proudly wear it. The kufia is very important to us. Thank you for noticing.
はい。
ありがとうございます。
はい。じゃあもう一方手を挙げて。
So we have time for one more question. And the gentleman over there. Well, I live in Seto, and I am in ceramic business, and I sell ceramic and research ceramic dolls and animals. And my question to Ms. Qasimi and Adrián, and Mr. Haito earlier mentioned that. So you visited Seto and you got the explanation from Seto people now. So in explaining Seto and Seto novelty, the ceramic products of Seto, and it used to be worldwide products which dominated the world market 80%, and there was any explanation. And we are civil organization who make a collection of such a doll, and you are trying to find a good factory, and I can give you very good places. And there used to be 150 workers working, but now it's 5-6 people working. But at the peak time, and that place is still intact. So I hope that you'll visit this place, and if you have a chance, and I'm able to explain it. So my question to you is that, well, there used to be the ceramic existed in Japan, which exported 80 countries, and occupied 80% of the total export worldwide. And there was such explanation from the local Soto people.
Yes, and I saw a lot of the ceramics that we had in our country growing up from Setomono also. So that was also nice to see. But we did visit many spaces, and we're going to be back again. So next time we'll see you in Seto City. Hopefully you can give us a tour. Thank you.
Well, I happened, 1992 when I make a preparation, I made a research of Seto City. And at that time, I happened to know that novelty shop, I found a novelty shop. Excuse me, I cannot hear your voice. Please use the microphone. I cannot hear.
私が
Well,
見つけた場所はなんかその
I
アンティ
found a
ークショップ
souvenir
みたい
shop,
な感じ
antique
で
shop,
お値段をつけていらっしゃ
and
ったので、
so there was a
で
price
その
tag.
メイドイ
Then
ンオキュパイドジャパンとい
it
う
was it said made in
も入
occupied
っていて、
Japan.
まあそのそういうものを集
Then
めた
so there was a collection of such
展
products.
示も昔見たことが
And
あったの
also I
で、
was able
まあ
to
そ
see
れ
the
でちょっ
display
と
of
調
such
べ
products. So I
て、
made a
でま
research
あぜひそれを
into
テ
it.
ーマにし
Then
た
I wanted
作品を
to
作ってくれないかというの
ask
で、田辺雄一郎さんには
Tanabe-san to
そ
make
の
related
テーマを
products
指定し
and
て
art pieces.
指
So
定してです
I
ね、
identified
リサー
a
チをして、大
topic
変そ
and
のリ
asked
サー
him
チ
to
が
make
上
a
手な人
research.
なの
And
で、
he's a very
で
good
一応クレ
researcher
ーター
and
の
he
皆さん
made
に
a
担当してもら
wonderful
って、まあい
research
ろいろやって
and
もらう
I
という
got
こと
some
になって
curators
いて、まあ
involved.
明日もま
Then
だ瀬戸に行くみたいで
tomorrow
すから、
I think they are going to
持
go
って
to
もらって
Seto
もいいんじゃない
City.
かと
So
思いま
I'm
す。
sure that they'll make a new
はい、引き続き
findings.
よろしくお願いいたしま
Well,
す。
I hope this
ちょっと
kind
で
of
すね、
exchange
時
will
間が近づい
continue.
てますの
Now
で、
it's time for us
もう
to
ここで
wrap up
質問を終わりにさせていただ
the
いて、
Q&A session.
実はですね、この
And
会場に愛知県
actually,
知事の大村知事が、
Mr.
来ており
Omura,
まして、
governor of Aichi Prefecture, is here with
皆
us
さんに
in order to address you.
ご挨拶をしたい
And
と
he
いうこ
would
とがあ
like
り
to
ますので、
greet the audience. And
知事よろしいでしょうか。
Governor Omura, floor is yours.
皆さんそのままで、そのままでいいです。はい、そのままでいいです。
Please stay there.
よろしくお願いします。
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm the Hideaki Omura, governor of Aichi Prefecture. And today we have had a lively exchange of opinions on the theme of what the International Art Festival can bring to the region. And a lot of audience, I'm very, very pleased to see you all. And in the previous Aichi 2022, we had the honor of having the Miss Mami Kataoka as the artistic director, and under the theme of Still Alive, we successfully hosted a wonderful art festival. I would like to thank you again, Miss Kataoka. And today, the theme and the concept and the participating artists were announced for the International Art Festival in Aichi 2025. We have the very beautiful theme. I'm looking forward to what kind of the festival we are going to see. And I hope this is going to be a great, successful art festival. And today, the great artist, Adrián, and the great director, Ms. Qasimi, I'm very happy to see you here. And you go to the Seto City tomorrow again? And you are looking for the good venue for the artistic event. And I'm very happy to hear. And then in Japan, we have the history of the International Festival from 2010. This time, we have the sixth International Festival. Every 3 years, we have this event. And next year, the 2025, it's going to be a 20th anniversary of Aichi Expo. So I think I would like to see a very international and great the art festival. In closing, I would like to express my sincere wishes for the continued development of all of you present here today and ask you for your understanding and support not only for Aichi 2025 but also the promotion of culture and the arts in Aichi Prefecture. I think this is my closing remark, I think. Anyway, thank you very much for today for the great presentation and discussion. Thank you, everyone. We will close the symposium and the discussion. Thank you very much for your cooperation.